So today I wanted us to begin with quadratic equations that you were somehow familiar with in O level, such that we could build it up, and then we cover this part of pure mathematics in sub-math. So much as this part seems, or when you hear it, it seems hard, but it's not hard as some people think. It is doable when you change your attitude, and it is possible. So a quadratic equation is an equation whose highest power is a 2. So I'm saying an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equaling to 0 is called a quadratic equation, and the value of x which satisfies the equation are called the roots. So the values of x, they are normally 2, keeping other factors constant. It can be a same value, but when it is appearing 2 times. So a solution to a quadratic equation is always giving us 2 answers. And there are several methods that we use to solve a simultaneous equation. So I'm saying there are 4 methods that are used to solve quadratic equations. So the first one is the one we are familiar with, the factorization method, where we find numbers that we add and multiply to give us a certain value, and then we substitute in the equation. We also have completing squares as a method. We have use of a quadratic formula, and then as well we have graphical method. But for this lesson, we are going to majorly focus on factorization and completing squares. So beginning with factorization, we are saying find the roots of the equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equaling to 0. So what we are going to do, or what is done, so this has a coefficient of 1, so we get the factors of 1 times 6. So this is 6. So we get 2 numbers. We get 2 numbers that we multiply to give us 6, and when we add them, they give us 5. So here we shall have sum and the product. So what could be those numbers? 2 numbers that we multiply to give us 6, and when we multiply them, when we add them, they give us negative 5.
Positive 2 and negative 2.
And negative 3. So when we multiply 2 times negative 3, it gives us negative 6, and 2 plus negative 3, it gives us negative 1. So they are not giving us the what we wanted. So the addition should give us negative 5. The multiplication gives us 6. Any other numbers?
Five and 1.
5 and 1. When we multiply them, they give us 6.
No.
Okay, there are these first ones you gave, only that it should be -2 and -3. Okay, so when we multiply -2 times -3, this gives us 6, because negative times negative gives us a positive. And then -2 plus -3 gives us a what? A 5. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes. So now what we are going to do, where there is a 5, where there is a 5x here, we are going to substitute it with a -2x and a 3 and a -3x, such that this one is equal to 5x. So we shall not have changed any what? Any meaning. So our solution is so we'll write the equation again: x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. So where there is a -5x, so we are substituting it with the -3x minus 2x, because -3x minus 2x gives us a -5. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, then after we are going to do the grouping. So we group them in pairs of 2. So this will be the first group of x squared minus 3x. So we bracket it. Then because here we have a minus sign, that is what will come here. Okay, 2x minus 6. So why the 6 has become a negative is that because when we open these brackets, negative times negative, it gives us positive. But if we had
Positive.
left, yes, if we had left it as positive 6 here, and we open these brackets, negative times positive would give us a negative, which changes the what? The original equation. So after grouping, we get the common factor in the first bracket and put it outside, and then also get a common factor in the second bracket and as well put it outside. So what is the common factor in the first bracket?
X.
X. Then the common factor in the second bracket? Something that we can divide by 2x and at the same time divide it by 6.
2.
2. Okay. So when we pull out the x here, we shall remain with x minus a 3. Then pulling out a 2, we shall remain with the x. And then on 6, we remain with a 3. So this x minus 3 also becomes a common factor. So we are going to write x minus 2, then times x minus 3. So we write x minus 2 in the first bracket, then open bracket x minus 3. Because the x minus 3 is appearing 2 times, so it also becomes a common factor. So and we equate to 0. So when we get here, we say either first bracket is equal to 0, either x minus 2 is equal to 0, and when the 2 crosses the cosines, it becomes what? Positive. So our x will be equal to a 2. Are we there?
Yes.
And then we say or the second bracket is equal to 0, and as well when 3 crosses the equal signs, it becomes what? Positive. So our x will be equal to 3. So the answers or the roots of this equation would be x equaling to 2 and x equaling to 3. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I will give you numbers to do on factorization. Now let us go to completing squares. So this method uses the expansion x plus b squared is equal to x squared plus 2bx plus b squared. So when you expand this using elementary expansion, so x plus b, let me write it here, x plus b squared is the same as x plus b into x plus b. So here we get x and multiply by the whole of the second bracket, and then plus b multiplied still by the second bracket. So x times x would give us x squared. Okay, x times b, and write it as bx, b times x, bx, and b times b becomes b to power 2. So these ones are similar, they are same terms, so we shall add them. So bx plus bx gives us 2bx, and then lastly plus b squared. So that is what we get when we expand x plus b squared. And in some books it is written as a plus b squared, which is a squared plus bx plus c, no, a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab then plus b squared. So in some books they have it like that. And in this completing squares, we are saying it is important to note that the last term b squared, okay, this last term here is the square of half the coefficient of x. So is half the coefficient of this. So when we come to the method of completing squares, let me first see whether I did it with the letters. No. Okay, if we begin doing it with the letters, okay, let me see. So if we begin ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Okay, so let us go through it together. So we first take the c to cross the equal signs. So we remain with ax squared plus bx is equal to negative c, because the c has crossed equal signs, so it becomes negative. And what some books have, one of the procedures here is that they say this, they add b squared here on both sides, adding b squared to complete squares, so that the equation becomes what? Complete. So it will become a x squared plus bx plus b squared is equal to negative c plus b squared. So why they bring in the b squared here is to introduce this term, okay? Such that now we can write this as x plus b squared. No. There's something I didn't do. Yes. So a x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So we first divide by a. The coefficient of x squared must be equal to 1. So we remain with x squared plus b over a x is equal to negative c over a. When the c over a crosses equal signs. So now we are going to introduce this term squared, because we said it is important to note that the b squared, the last term b squared, is the square of half the coefficient of x. So we are going to add half the coefficient of x squared both sides. So we shall have x squared plus b over ax, then plus b over a squared is equal to negative c over a plus b over a squared. Okay, so now this one will become x plus b over a squared. Okay, then it will be equal to, so we can open brackets here, b squared over a squared. Then here we subtract half the coefficient. So this one should be 2 because it was half. So this one will be 4. 2 squared, then a squared. So we subtract this. And then we shall have x plus b squared, giving us, so here we find the LCM, which is 4a squared. So 4a squared divided by 4a squared, what does it give us?
1.
1. So multiply by b squared, so it remains as b squared, then minus 4a squared divided by a. What do we have?
4a.
For a, so we multiply it by c, it gives us 4ac. Then from here we can take a square root both sides to remove the square here. So this will cancel with that, so we remain with x plus b, giving us, so here we shall take the square root of answer to be having two answers, which are positive and negative. So we shall have root of b squared minus 4ac over root of 4a squared. So this will be the same as plus or minus root of b squared minus 4ac divided by root, what is root of 4? Root 4?
2.
2. Root of a squared,
A.
okay, so it gives us a. if this, you know what is wrong, this was supposed to be b over 2a, 2a, 2a. So finally, when we make x the subject, this will cross to the right hand side and it becomes negative b plus or minus root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So because they have the same LCM, that is how we conclude with the equation x is equal to minus plus or minus root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So that is how this formula that formula of the quadratic formula comes about. Okay, so let us now go to solving the equation. So we are saying the coefficient of the highest term x squared should be equal to 1. So as we solve, the coefficient should be equal to 1. So we can have an example. Find the roots of the equation 2x squared minus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so there is our equation. So what we shall do is to begin by dividing throughout by 2. So when we divide by 2, we shall have x squared minus 5 over 2x plus 1 over 2 is equal to a half. So we shall add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides of the equation. No, I think this is this. Yes, this here. Okay. This here is supposed to be a 4. F4, 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 F4. Half the coefficient. So this would be 4. Still, this would be a 4. 25. This would be 16. I think let me do it with my pen here. So my equation was x squared plus 5 over 2. So what I'm going to have when I add half the coefficient, so it will be x squared minus 5 over 2x. So I'm going to add half the coefficient. So half the coefficient will be 5 over 4 because it is a half of 5 divided by 2. So 2 times 2 will give me a 4. So I square this and I say is equal to negative a half. Then I also add 5 over 4 squared. So this can be written as x minus 5 over 2 squared. Because when I open this, it will give me the whole of the upper expression. So this would be negative a half plus 5 squared is 25 divided by 16. Okay, let me find some LCM there. 25 over 16 minus a half. So the LCM will be 16. So this will remain as 25. So 16 divided by 2 gives me what? 8. So 8 times 1, So 25 minus 8 gives us 17. So this will be 17 divided by 16. So I will bring it here and say my x minus 5 over 2 squared is equal to 17 divided by 16. Then here I'm going to take a square root both sides. So this will die with that. So I remain with x minus 5 over 2 no, this one as well should be a 4 minus half the coefficient squared, no, the square went, is equal to plus or minus root of 17 divided by 4. So x, when I take this one to cross the equal signs, it becomes positive, then plus or minus root 17 divided by 4. So my x can be 5 plus or minus root of 17 divided by 4. Do you have a calculator there?
No.
Okay. 5 plus root 17 divided by 4. So one of the x values will be when we take addition, and the other one will be when we take the subtraction. So one of our x values would be 2.28 when we round off to 2 decimal points. Then the other one would be 5 now minus root 17 divided by 4. This would be would be 0.22 when we round it to 2 decimal points. So that will be our x values for the above what equation. Is that okay? So maybe let me sort of an extra one. So let us solve this. X squared minus 5x plus 6 equaling to 0. The other one we had at first using completing squares. So this one we don't need to divide. So x squared minus 5x would be equal to 6. So we shall now complete squares. So we write this as x squared minus 5 over 2 x plus 5 over 2 squared is equal to 6 plus 5 over 2 squared. So now this on the left hand side becomes x minus 5 over 2 squared. Let me see. Let us use another method. Plus 6 is equal to 0. So here we say x squared minus 5x is equal to negative 6. So by completing squares, instead of writing x squared, we write x. Then here we shall write half the coefficient, which is 5, divided by 2. And then we square this and subtract 5 over 4, 5 over 2 squared, and we put this to negative 6. At the end, I want you to tell me which method is simpler so that we adopt that one, okay? So this becomes x minus 5 over 2 squared, then minus 25 divided by 4 is equal to negative 6. So we take this one to the right hand side, and it becomes x minus 5 over 2 squared is equal to negative 6 plus 25 divided by 4. So we can take the LCM, which is 4. Then this will be over 1. We can begin with the 25.
Yes.
Yes, so 4 divided by 1 is 4 divided by 1 is 4. Multiplied by negative 6, it becomes negative 24. So we can say x minus 5 over 2 let me come back. So we shall say this is equal to 25 minus 24 is 1. So that will be 1 divided by 4. Then we take square root both sides. So the square dies with the root and we remain with x minus 5 over 2 is equal to plus or minus. What is root of 1?
One.
1. Root of 4 is 2. So we cross the 5 to the other, 5 over 2 to the other side, so it becomes 5 over 2 plus or minus a half, which is equal to 2, 5 plus or minus 1. Okay, so one of the values x will be 5 plus 1 divided by 2. So this will be 6 divided by 2, which is the same as 3. Or x is 5 minus 1 over 2, which is 4 over 2, and this gives us 2. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we can stop here unless if we have some questions.
No.
So I'm going to send you some numbers to try out using factorization method and the completing squares method. Okay? And
Okay.
I will also send you the video of this lesson so that in case you get stuck somewhere, then you can play it back.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.